Hello again, everybody. It's another episode of Spider Does Things, the show. And I know I did say on the last episode that I probably wasn't going to get another episode in before Thanksgiving, or even necessarily before the end of the year, but, I got to thinking and I changed my mind. I got some stuff to talk about. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fill a full hour with it. I should be able to. I picked enough stuff to talk about. But, yeah, I figured we'll get to some talking. First things first, how is everybody doing? Welcome to the show. I don't expect anybody to be in the chat room, because nobody really comes to Spreaker anymore. That's what my platform is. Everybody's usually hearing this after the fact, so nobody really listens live, and that's fine. I mean, obviously, you're not going to be able to answer me wherever you're listening to it, but still, how you doing? How you been? It's been a bit tough over here. I mentioned last time that I have a cat who had a urinary tract infection, and he's doing much better. The medicine I got for him is improving him by a ton. He's basically up to full strength now. He's ornery, but he's doing fine. So that's good. I still don't have a hot water tank. Well, I do have one, but it only works when I turn it on, and it leaks all over the place. So I have to constantly clean my basement after using it. So I just turn the water off to it mostly so it won't leak during the day when I'm not using it. So if I'm not taking a shower or something like that, I just leave it off and I just run cold water in the sink upstairs. Really inconvenient, but I'm working on that. No big deal. As of this broadcast, there is also a show coming up for my record label, which is Big Buff Records, if you did not know that or had forgotten. We have a show coming up. Let me double check the date here. It's at the Vortex in Akron, Ohio on the 27th of November, 2024. Okay, so if you're hearing this after the fact, and it's before that date, you can still make it. If it's afterwards, well, I guess you missed it. $10 at the door. Doors open at 9, or doors open at 8, and the music starts at 9. So it's going to be a late one. I'm not performing that night. So if anybody's looking to do that, this is going to be a pure rap show, I believe, pure hip hop show. So nothing of my particular brand, I believe, will be on stage then. What am I drinking tonight? I've got water, because I can't afford my drinky drinks. That's not like a low-key, like, oh, good son, just poor, you should toss me some money. No, it's just a fact of life. Sometimes you just don't, you can't pay for your vices, and so you don't have your vices. That's why I'm not an alcoholic. Because when I can't afford it, I can't afford it. An alcoholic would go out of their way to make sure they could always afford it, and sometimes be unscrupulous about that. But not me. If I don't have the money, I'm not going to go out and do anything crazy to try to get the money. I'm just going to have to deal with it and suck it up. Right? So I'm drinking water, which is better for me anyway. It's healthier. I do try to drink quite a bit of water per day, but I don't think I drink enough. Nobody really does. Probably. I don't know. Those standards that they have for how much water you're supposed to drink are probably BS, to be honest. I don't know. I've never really looked into it. I should look into it more. But let's talk about a big topic that's out right now, that's going on, that I've noticed a lot of people doing. I noticed it a lot today. I was on the old Facebook today. Facebook and YouTube are the only... I don't know if YouTube qualifies. Does it qualify as social media? Because you don't, it's not like message boards, it's mostly just videos still. It's not hubs of comments and things. I mean, you can comment on the videos, but it's less about that. Unless you're doing live videos, then I guess a lot of people get into big, deep conversations. But maybe it counts, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. If it does, cool. If it doesn't, then Facebook is probably the only social media that I really do. Which is why I have it, because it's the only way I have to keep up with certain friends or family that I don't always get to see, and that I might not have their number, or that we're not going to sit and have like a text conversation all the time, right? So I can see what they're up to. Oh, so-and-so just got married, or so-and-so had a graduation. Hey, we're going to have a show this weekend. Hey, that kind of stuff, you know? It's easier just to hop on there and do it. I used to have a Twitter. Years ago. Many years ago. And I sort of regret it at the time. And once I got rid of it, I have not looked back. I've never been tempted to go back and and reopen my Twitter, or get a new Twitter, or do anything like that. I know it's not called that anymore. I know it's called X now, but more people know it as Twitter than X, so I'm going to keep calling it Twitter, just for simplicity of communication. Okay. When I was using Twitter, it was right before things got really heavily censored. Or at least the beginnings of that, because things didn't get really super heavily censored till like the virus years, and I was long off Twitter by then. But when I was using it, it was a little bit before it started. I don't want to say left-leaning or right-leaning or anything like that, because I think that's a simplification. I think that oversimplifies things. It was before there were mass restrictions and bans and various things, and post deletions for various reasons. Okay? When I was on Twitter, it was the tail end of when it was just a lawless free-for-all. And I hated it. I couldn't stand it. Because the thing was, I understand what it was for. It was so that everybody could get on. The character limit was really small. It wasn't the large one that people have now. It was basically like one short sentence. It gave everyone a voice, so to speak, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But the issue is that people being people, most people don't use their voice in a public setting for things that matter to them or would matter to other people. And that's not an insult. It's just human nature. A lot of people just feel like, oh, I just want to shout something. And they do. They just want to be heard saying whatever. A lot of people are homegrown comedians. They think they're funny, and maybe they are, maybe they're not. But they want to put all their funny things that they like to say and all their clever things that they want to say out and be seen by a lot of people. A lot of people crave attention. And that's what Twitter was. It was a way for everybody to just shout opinions, whether they were important or not, and get attention. And the stuff that was the most funny or the most profound got pushed to the top. And the stuff that wasn't got, pushed more towards the middle, towards the bottom, and didn't get seen as much. And over time, like any other caste structure, because that's what it became, people started getting the blue check marks. They saw being verified as a mark of status above the masses. If you were verified, you were somebody in the digital world. You were important. You had your voice meant more than somebody else's voice who might not have that check mark. And so there developed a system on that where the people with the voices, the check marks, pretty much ran the place. They ran off a lot of other dissenting opinions, whether they were good or bad. They were endlessly quoted, endlessly retweeted. And certain political and activist-minded people from many sides of that spectrum saw the power of that. And so they each worked real hard to push the platform in the directions that they wanted. And eventually, a side won out that wanted to make itself heard but didn't want people to be heard who had opposing opinions. They didn't want there to be conversation. They just wanted there to be statements. And you either agreed with the statement and retweeted it and shared it among everybody, perpetuating the statement, or you were drowned out. And that's how it went. I was gone before a lot of that started to really happen, but it just got worse. And I know a lot of people online. Not personally, because I don't go out of my way to really make friends with people online, because unless I know you in real life already and then we interact online off on the side or intermittently, then I'm not interested too much in a random person's opinion from Saskatchewan or Indonesia or Chicago or whatever. Because I'm not going to those places. I'm never going to meet that person. I don't care about you, to be blunt. And I don't want people to feel insulted by that, because I'm sure I'm just some guy from Ohio. You don't care about me, right? Unless I already know you, then maybe you do. If we already know each other. If you're just listening to this randomly on Spotify because you picked it up, like, what do you know about me? Just what I've said about here. You don't have a personal attachment to me, so what do you care, right? I'm not insulted. I don't feel bad. If you don't like something that I say, you can be like, yeah, I don't care what that guy says. He's full of it. That's not a personal insult to me because I don't know you. I don't know you personally, and you don't know me personally, so what does it matter? But Twitter started to get that way. Everything started to get real personal with everybody. And it got so bad, or so good, I don't know. A lot of people think that it was great when you had a lot of the heavy censorship and you had a lot of the... And I don't use censorship in the means like, oh, I'm being censored just because you don't like my opinion. I mean it in a way that it was... I mean, people, there was censorship, right? Not like government censorship, not like... That's a touchy word to use. It's one of those words that people use in an extreme way. A lot of people will say anytime, like if you're on a forum and you say something really rude or hateful, and then you get burned by it, and your post gets removed or deleted, people scream, oh, I'm censorship, I'm not allowed to speak my mind. Well, if you say something trashy, that's not censorship, that's just people not wanting to have a trashy opinion. Okay. If you're being civil and you're just saying stuff like in a debate, not an argument even, just a calm debate, or just trying to see different sides of a topic, and somebody didn't like that and then removed it because they could, that'd be censorship. Okay? There's a fine line there. It's real tricky to do. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with my opinion on that, and that's fine. I understand. People are going to say, oh, First Amendment rights. And then the other side is going to say, well, that only applies to governments cracking down on speech. It doesn't apply to anything else. I'm in favor of people being able to say whatever they want. But if you say something that's purely out of spite or out of hate or bullying or violent, you should also suffer the consequences for that. You shouldn't be silenced necessarily, but there should be a punishment for you if you've incited something. And I'm not talking about... People are going to say, oh, well, let's talk about Trump and January 6th. I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm not talking about incitement in relation to anything like that. I'm saying if you go in and you troll a bunch of people and stir them all up into hating each other, I don't think that's allowed. I don't like that. But, I have a thing about bullies. I don't like them. I don't like them at all. And I will always try to fight back against bullies as often as I can. Anybody can speak if they can speak in a civil manner. But if all you're going to communicate with is insults, then there's no reason anybody needs to listen to that. Do you get that? Do you get it? Am I making sense? I don't know. It's just my opinion on it. But Twitter got to be so in that direction that there was active censorship going on. Whether you believe it or not, or whether you agree with it or not, there were people getting shut down out of spite and not because they deserved it. So then Musk comes through, buys Twitter, changes the rules. Now it's an open forum again. But the problem is, now that it's an open forum again, everybody can shout whatever they want. Again. It's now an open season cesspit like it was before. And I'm still not going back because it's a bunch of garbage. I still hear from a lot of people that, oh yeah, well, the fastest way to get news is to go to Twitter because it happens instantly when it happens. Yeah, but then you have no fact checking. Then you have no support for it. Then you have no context at all. People will do a knee-jerk instant report of something that they saw or did, and like, this is the news, oh my gosh, and they don't even know half the facts around something. A lot of stuff on Twitter ends up having to be corrected after the fact, or added to, or updated, because you don't know when it happens. And it's problematic. If you're getting all your news from Twitter, then you're not getting the accurate news. You're getting the in-the-moment news, which is good initially because you have an idea of what's going on, but you don't know what has happened concretely until all the facts come out. Okay? You don't know. So please do not go to Twitter for your news. And if you do, go and verify that before you post about it. Go to other places and follow up and see, hey, who else is reporting on this? Is this really what's going on? Before you decide to talk about it. Because you can't give an accurate or truthful opinion, an honest opinion about it, if you don't have the facts straight. I'm 100% evidence-based on everything. Facts matter. I know people use that as like a catchphrase against certain groups, but it's true though. The facts do matter once they're organized into a coherent state, which is not what I'm doing very well with my voice here. But where am I going with this big long rant? I'm headed to a topic from here, okay? I think I said at the beginning I was going to talk about Bluesky. And Bluesky is just one of a few Twitter alternatives. I'm going to look up here on my phone. Twitter alternatives. Twatter alternative. I should have typed that better. There's a whole bunch of them, actually. You've got Mastodon, which I'd heard of, never tried it. Bluesky, which we're going to talk about. Threads is for Facebook and Instagram users, and I've never used that either because I don't care. The whole Twitter format is where the problem is. The short form, just like slapping your opinions out into the ether for anybody to see at any given time. That's the problem. It's just a mess. It's memes and it's jokes and it's false things and it's a whole bunch of just whatever. This list has LinkedIn and Reddit and Discord, but I don't think those are exactly like Twitter. Those are more insular communities. Reddit can get pretty bad too. Reddit is horrible for breeding malcontent, I suppose you could say. But LinkedIn, I don't know. I guess people use that as social media nowadays. I hadn't known about that. I might still have a LinkedIn, but I stopped using it because it was pointless. Like, I don't have the requisite skills that people look for on LinkedIn, which is like Indeed. Indeed is a job-finding app, kind of like that, and I signed up for that recently to try to figure out ways to work from home and to shore up our finances. And everything on there is just, it's all things that are way outside of they're beyond my qualifications. I'm not qualified for much on Indeed, or it's stuff that if I am qualified for it, it's labor work that I got to go and I can't take care of my daughter, which is the whole point of working from home. I have to be able to take care of my daughter. I can't just leave her with somebody because there's nobody to leave her with. It's just us out here, to be honest. So Discord I did use for a while, but that was in the gaming sense. I used to use it for interviews and things, but my Discord doesn't work on my laptop anymore because it got updated in a way that it's pretty much broken for me. I use Windows 7 still, if that tells you anything. I don't have a new enough computer to go up to Windows 11. Now, Discord will work on my tablet, but when I need to use Discord, I need to route it into other things rather than just as it is. And so I can't connect to those things on my tablet. It's Discord, or it's Twitch, or it's YouTube. I can't have all those things going at the same time, feeding into each other. Whereas on my laptop, I can do that because it's a powerful piece of computing, even though it only runs Windows 7. It won't go any higher than that. But wouldn't use those necessarily. I guess Substack is another thing, and I've never really looked into it. It's I guess for here it's listed for newsletter fans, but I don't know. But Bluesky is apparently the current choice for people leaving Twitter because they don't like the direction it went into the open, everybody's got the Wild West opinions again, like how it started. People liked, not just everybody, but a sizable group of people liked the more restrictive version that had come out back in the, I guess between, it was probably around the first Trump term up through the Obama term, or not Obama term, the Biden term. That's when the restrictions got the worst, and the moderation got to be the worst, and the most heavy-handed before Musk came in. And I'm not going to say he saved it. A lot of people say, oh yeah, well, that's when Musk saved it, and he came in, and he opened it back up to everybody. But that's what set it right back to where it was before. There's problems with both. There's problems with being too restrictive, and there's problems with it being the Wild West. And right now, it's back to the Wild West. And people don't like that. Mostly people, and I'm not trying to generalize or to use this as an insult, okay? I'm not trying to insult people politically. It's something I've observed. It's people who are more liberal / progressive / I guess you could say left-leaning, more Democrat versus Republican kind of thing. And again, I'm not saying that in an insulting way, because I don't attack people based on their political sides. I'm just saying that's what the trend is. A lot of people who identify with those names and titles and descriptors are the ones leaving Twitter for Bluesky. And the inherent danger I see with that is that Bluesky will then become an echo chamber for these people. Because that's what the internet largely is becoming. A series of bubbles, self-policing echo chambers where everybody agrees on everything within their particular shared space. And you might think, oh, well, that's great. But you're never hearing a dissenting opinion. You're never hearing any evidence to the contrary that what you are looking at may not necessarily be the best way to look at something. Because a good debate is healthy. A good amount of friction is healthy in a certain regard. Because it lets you... Critical thinking is very important. Critical thinking is ridiculously important. And we've lost a lot of that because people instead have just chosen to listen to what they want to listen to rather than all sides of something. They'll automatically label, oh, you know what, you can't say there's all sides to this issue because this is inherently wrong. And there are a few things that are inherently wrong. There are a lot of things. But there's also a lot of things that aren't, that have become labeled as inherently wrong. And that's what people are cutting themselves off from, whether it's deserved or not. And I think you're doing yourself a disservice by doing that. But the reason I brought this up is because I saw, circling it back around, using that famous phrase by somebody, circle back around to it, is I've on Facebook today I've seen at least 3 musical acts that I follow, 3 big national bands that I follow, all posting up, hey, yeah, we're going on Bluesky, please follow our account there. Now, they didn't say that they were leaving Twitter. They didn't make a big, like, hey, we're leaving Twitter because of this particular reason, please come to Bluesky and follow us. They just added a Bluesky link and a little post saying, oh, yeah, you can find us on Bluesky. So I don't know if they've left Twitter and they're migrating over out of some kind of protest or whatever, because a lot of people are doing that, or if it's in addition because now that's a growing platform. If it's a growing platform and they're going there to add to their repertoire, their social media collection, I can respect that. If you're going there because you don't want to use Twitter anymore, like I said, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're jumping into an echo chamber. You're just creating yourself an area where all you hear is good things. You never hear anything bad. And when bad things do happen, you're going to be caught unprepared. That's what I think. And also one of my message boards, and I say my, but I don't own it or anything like that. It's just a message board that I've been on for a number of years. One of my message boards, well, the only message board, honestly, that I still frequent, announced that they were going to do that, and they're specifically doing it for political reasons. And a lot of the people there on that specific forum wear blinders daily. They've got a severe case of tunnel vision. A severe case of tunnel vision where they don't want to look outside. This leads into my next subject, because I'm going to talk about the aftermath of the election. Okay? Where we're at right now, the 2024 election. But these folks were certain, like a lot of other people, that the election was going to go a different way. They had talked among their friends. They had talked among people they knew. They were following different people that they trusted on social media. They had built themselves the bubble. They had built themselves the echo chamber. And they weren't looking at the trends. They weren't looking at the facts. They weren't looking at evidence that would have told them that things were going a different way. And basically, how am I going to phrase this? Well, I mean, there's no way really to sugarcoat it, but, and I'm not going to insult Kamala Harris, okay? I'm not using this as an insult. I'm not using this as a way to drag her down or to drag anybody down, right? But she's deeply unpopular. She was deeply, deeply unpopular. Even before she was vice president, she was very unpopular. She made her own run for president, remember? And she failed miserably. And that's not like a, quote, right-wing thing. It's not a conspiracy. And it's not a racist or misogynist thing because of her skin color or her gender. She just was not a likable person for a lot of people. And I'm not saying by comparison that Trump is a very likable person, okay? I'm not saying that. If you take him out of the equation and you just look at her, she was deeply unpopular. And it was very apparent that anybody who said, oh yeah, she had a masterful interview and she's doing so well at her speeches and her rallies and things, were ignoring a lot of evidence that there were problems. I don't think there was any chance she was ever going to be president. And it wasn't because she was female or because of her skin color. I don't think that's what happened. I think it was just the core audience she was trying to reach didn't like her. For a lot of reasons. And so, rather than vote for the other person, they just didn't go. There were a lot of people that said, oh yeah, there's record voter turnout and all that other kind of stuff, but where? A lot of people didn't vote. A lot of people straight up didn't. There might have been record turnout in particular places that they did certain polls at, but they didn't poll across the nation. They didn't poll every single place. They said they did, and they said, but they didn't. This is one of those times when people talk about that quote-unquote silent majority, that side is the side that voted. And, you don't have to like it. And I'm not praising it or denigrating it. I'm just saying that's what happened. And that's where we are. The one side appealed to a very narrow mindset of people. And the other side didn't. The other side tried to appeal to as many people as possible, whether it was a reasonable group or not. So, yeah, so that's how that is. Let's, I don't know, I thought I'd have more to say about political stuff in the aftermath of the election. I was going to get into the cabinet picks and that kind of stuff, but I kind of don't feel like it now that I've gone into that, because politics is depressing, to be honest. Politics is just, I know about politics and I follow it very closely because I have this compulsive need to be informed, but I don't like politics. I would like politics to work automatically, independent of me. I don't want to have to pay attention to them for them to work. Does that make sense? I would just like to get up every day and everything in the nation works the way it's supposed to and not have to fuss about it because the people in charge are doing what they're supposed to do to make things better for everybody. They don't, and I'm sure that's an idealized sort of fantasy that I have. But that's what I would want. But since that doesn't happen, then I pay close attention, despite the fact that I hate having to be interactive with any of it, and I pay close attention. And sometimes my analysis is wrong. Sometimes it's not. You can disagree with me if you want. That's cool. I'm not going to be mad. That's the whole point. Not to be mad at each other, but to work towards fixing the system so it's worth it for everybody. Not just so it works just for you, or so that it works for me, or so that it works for this group of people or that group of people. It's so that it works smoothly, as smooth as it can anyway, for everybody. Okay? But let's bring things local. Because we had some things go on in the local area that have been pretty crazy. There's a grocery store that I go up to. It's about 5 minutes up the road, up the highway from here. And it's got a variety of stores and things like that, and that's usually where I do most of my shopping, because the prices stay pretty consistent despite the inflation. You can't really get away from that. But on that main area, there was a shootout between the U.S. Marshals and a suspect from West Virginia. Let me see if I can find it here. I got an email about it. It was at a place called the Roadway Inn, and apparently, let me see what the details were. Close that out in advertisement. The guy was... Where is it in the article? This is all like interviews with people and whatnot. He was a guy who was wanted in West Virginia on a federal weapons violation. It doesn't say what the violation was or what that means. But he was hiding out in my town, just a little bit north of here. And they knocked on his door at this motel to say, hey, you're under arrest, U.S. Marshals. And he opened fire. And he barricaded himself in. And they ended up ending him, to put it not too graphically. So he, I guess he paid for that in some sort of justice, I suppose. I don't know. A federal weapons violation, I would think, if you cooperated with that on a certain level, might not get you a whole lot of prison time. I think you'd still be able to be a member of society after a few years. But who knows? People do get desperate when things happen, and maybe there was more going on to the story. I'm going to keep an eye on it and see what's going on with it. But that's what's going on local. Crazy stuff. I mean, you don't always have stuff like that go on here. But we do occasionally get people hiding out in this area. It's a semi-rural spot in Ohio. It's south of Akron. It's south of Cleveland. It's not as heavily populated as places like Columbus and Cincinnati and Dayton. A lot of people do come through here and lay low. I'm not saying it's like the criminal hideout capital of the United States or anything, but we do have stories like that happen over so often. I was reminded in my Facebook memories that came up the other day that there was a guy a few years ago this month. There was a guy, I woke up and I was getting my coffee and I looked outside and there was a guy with a long rifle, single shot kind of thing, like a hunting rifle, with a scope, like it was decked out, with like a big long coat and a hat, and he was just hiding behind a tree outside in the neighbor's yard. I'd never seen him before. He was just a big, kind of portly looking guy, kind of looked a little confused, but a little bit on the elderly side, and kind of like, kind of suspicious and paranoid, and I was just like, I don't know what's going on out here. But, that doesn't look right. He got picked up by police without incident. I think, I don't know what the deal was. I think he was confused. I think he had something going on. And I'm glad that was averted without getting any problems. But we've had worse in the neighborhood. Years ago, there was a running gun battle farther down the road that passed by the house, and it actually hit the neighbor's house. And the neighbors at the time then moved because they were like, we didn't move down here to be in the middle of this kind of stuff, so we're leaving. And that wasn't a common thing. I mean, we've had some rough elements in this part of town, but that was one of the worst. Like, these guys pulled up in a van and took some shots off at some rival people, then drove off, and those people took off on foot after them, firing off at the van as they went. A lot of people got arrested that day. And then, of course, we had the heroin users who were living right next door. There's been a lot of people who have lived next door. These aren't all the same neighbors, in case anybody wonders. These aren't all the same neighbors. These are people who have come and gone. It's been, this past year now has been the quietest it's been in a long time, in about a decade. A lot of the unruly people who lived in the neighborhood have slowly been pulled out or moved or whatever. And a lot of Hispanic families have moved in, and I'm not saying that as a good or a bad thing. I'm just saying it as a thing. There's a lot of people who've moved in, and they just happen to be Hispanic. It's just coincidence. Okay, I don't want to be anybody coming in and thinking, oh, he's going to start ranting about immigrants and whatever. No. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just saying that they are. And that's fine. Who cares? The only reason it's notable is because we hadn't had a lot of Spanish-speaking people in the neighborhood until a lot of people who spoke Spanish started moving in. I don't take note of every single Spanish-speaking person that moves in. Because that would be kind of typecasting, right? You'd be. Why would you have to take note of that? You know what I mean? Do you take note of everybody else, of every other skin color that comes into your neighborhood? No. It was just something notable because they hadn't been here before. And that's it. That's all there is to it. There's no hate involved. There's no stereotypes involved. It's just, that's it. That's just the facts. As I say, very fact-oriented. And the Hispanic folks next door have been here for about a year, and they're probably going to stick around. I mean, they seem to be doing fine. I don't think I haven't had a single issue with them since they've been there. So, and that's what's of the immediate concern to me, is if somebody moves in next door, which is right across the driveway, and if they're going to be problematic for my family. Like if they're going to be dangerous, or if they're going to want to start trouble, or if they're going to leave trash all outside or something like that, and these people haven't done anything. So, and a lot of the neighborhood is moving that direction, and everybody seems to kind of do their own thing and do their own business. Which is good. So what's next? I'm trying to remember what all I got in the title for this. I got Bluesky. I talked about the election aftermath briefly. Local news. I got two more things. So, Transformers 1. First off, Transformers 1. It's the new movie. You folks know, if you followed any of my other material, that I'm a Transforming Robots guy. I'm big into Transformers. I've never been a big fan of the live-action movies. I liked the first one because it had a lot of callbacks to the original stuff. It had its plenty of goofy moments, and it wasn't perfect, but I liked it well enough. The other ones after that tended to just get worse, and they weren't very good until the Bumblebee movie came out and gave the whole series kind of like a soft reset. And that one was pretty good for the most part. Rise of the Beasts was okay. Not as good as Bumblebee, but it was okay. And this was the first animated one they've had in a while. And I haven't liked most of the animated shows that they've come out with. I liked the War for Cybertron trilogy that they had on Netflix, which was basically a miniseries. It was a trilogy set of miniseries, not an ongoing thing. But I didn't like any of the Japanese anime Transformers from the 2000s. I didn't like Transformers animated. I did kind of enjoy Transformers Prime, It was okay. It was alright. It wasn't perfect either, and they made some silly decisions, but it was okay for what it was. But I went into this one knowing that there were going to be things I wasn't going to like about it. But I shut my brain off and said, you know what, I'm just going to try to enjoy it as a Transformers movie. And if the characters aren't exactly how I envisioned them and how the canon usually sees them, I'm just going to, ignore that as best I can. And it was pretty enjoyable, to be honest. I did enjoy the story. The basic story was pretty solid. It wasn't anything innovative. It was a classic revenge story sort of thing, how or betrayal kind of story, how somebody had betrayed everybody in favor of getting power for themselves and that kind of thing. And I'm not going to get into the spoilers for people who haven't seen it yet. It's still too new for me to get into that. But it did what it claimed to do, or what it set out to do, I think, well enough. And I enjoyed it for what it was. I watched it with my family tonight, just a little bit ago, to be honest. It was like an hour ago, at most. An hour ago when it ended. And they liked it. And that was fine. They're supposed to be making a sequel for it, which I'd be interested in seeing. But there's a couple things I just, like, I don't know if you folks know, I'm going to get into some nerd moments here. So if you're not interested in transforming robot toys or cartoons, then you might want to tune out for a little while. 3, 2, 1, go. My favorite Transformer character is Shockwave. And he was not at all anything like any of the Shockwaves I've ever seen in comics or cartoons or anything. In this movie, it's probably the worst depiction of the character I've ever seen, which is a bit of a bummer, but his screen time was relatively low. He didn't have a lot of dialogue, so it was okay. I put it aside in my brain to just enjoy the movie anyway. But I didn't like that, so I hope for another movie they improve that. I don't know. And I'm also not going to get the action figures. I'm not into it enough to be interested in the action figures. Because I don't like the designs as far as the figures go. Seeing them in the movie, they look okay. But seeing them in figure form, I don't like them. I can't. I don't like them. So I haven't wanted to get it. Not that I have a lot of disposable funds right now to get into that anyway. But you guys know I'm a collector. I collect a lot of that kind of stuff. But I'm not getting it. But it's still, the movie's worth watching. If you have Paramount Plus, they're not a sponsor of the show. They're not paying me to say anything good about them. I'm not, there's no kickbacks involved. I'm not trying to cozy up to them. I have it because I have several different streaming apps. But Transformers 1 is on Paramount Plus right now. If you have that, you can stream it for free. And finally, let's talk about rat beef. People probably saw the title and they're like, beef? What's your problem with beef? You got a problem with beef? I like beef. No. If I'm eating beef, I don't mind. I like it. I'm a fan. But rat beef. Arguments between various hip-hop people that get intensely personal. If they're just like dissing each other over the quality of their work, you know what, whatever, who cares? People can do that. But it gets silly when it's local between people who should be working together. It's an area where I don't think it should be a competition. If you're local, why are you competing in rap beefs against other people who are local? What does that get you? Does it get you out of the local scene and onto the national stage? I doubt it. Does it get you more shows? I doubt it. All it does is, if you win a beef, you're just putting down somebody else. I don't see why it has to be a competition. And that's probably one of the things that I understand the least about hip-hop and rap culture. I just don't understand why it has to be a competition, why everything has to be, I'm a better this than you, I'm a better beat maker than you, I'm a better rapper than you, I'm a better whatever than you. I don't get that. Because I don't really get that in life. People do that in life, too. They're like, oh, yeah, I'm better than you because of this and because of that, and I just don't understand. Because I don't see anybody as better than me. I don't see anybody as particularly lesser than me. I see people as, hey, you're an asshole, to be perfectly straight with it. But that's how it is. I don't put them above or below whatever. If you're just a random person and you're good with me, I'm good with you. If you're an asshole, you're an asshole, and I'm going to not give a shit about you. That's how it is. Like, I don't understand having to constantly prove that you're better or worse than somebody or at something that they're doing, that you collectively are doing. I don't see the point in trying to do that. And there's people doing that. People in my local scene are doing that, and I'm kind of like, I want to say things. I want to go in and say what I think about it to everybody involved. But I'm not gonna, because they're either not gonna listen to me or they're gonna think, oh, well, now you're in the beef and now we gotta make a diss track about you. And I'm like, you're gonna make a diss track about me? Really? Do I care? Am I going to care? No. You say what you want. You're going to make stuff up because you don't know me well enough to point out any flaws of mine. You make a diss track, you're just going to make up a bunch of stuff just to be insulting. And I'm not going to care because none of it is true. Like, you can point, like, even the stuff that I do, like, I make my own music. If you want to say, oh, well, your music sucks and you want to make a diss track about it, that's a subjective opinion. That's just your opinion that it sucks. That doesn't mean that it sucks. It just means that you don't like it, and you're going to make fun of it. What do I care? Like, I'm not going to take that personal. One of the examples people have around here is, oh, well, it's disrespect. I got to answer that disrespect. Why? Why are you insulted? If you already think that you are better at what you're doing than the other person, then how does what they're saying about you threaten you? How are you threatened by that? Because maybe that means you don't really think you're the best. Maybe that means you are insecure. And if you're insecure, maybe you should just work on getting better. But if you don't think you need to get better because you think you're the best, then why are you insecure? See? It's a circle. It's a looping deal that makes no sense to me. Get over it. Get over it. Like, disrespect, whatever. Get over it. Move on. Do something else. Like, your diss tracks are boring. They're trash on their own. They're not real good. Because they're not saying anything. All you're doing is trash talking somebody else. There's nothing to it. No substance. No meaning. Nothing. If you got more things to say than somebody else, say them. If you are better at what you do, prove that. Not by tearing down the other person, but by showing your strength. Prove it. Your rap beef is stupid. Especially if you're local. If you're on the national stage, you can use it as like a publicity tool. You get together with somebody else and be like, hey, you know what? I want to make us both some money and get us both some attention. Let's beef. Let's you and me write tracks about each other back and forth. Because then their fans like, ooh, team whoever, ooh. And then it turns into a big thing and everybody makes money because everybody wants to hear what's he going to say about him next? What are they going to say about them next? You know, call and response. But if you're local, it doesn't matter. You're not that big. Nobody knows you. Nobody knows you outside of your town. Okay? If you have local rap beef with somebody, move on. Move on. It's stupid. It's stupid. It's stupid. I'm not going to take that back, and I'm not going to apologize for it. Anyway, we're getting towards the end here. This will be going up to Spotify and everything else within the next 15 minutes to a half an hour, probably. You can listen to it then on demand whenever you want. It'll be on YouTube within a few days. It takes me a little time to edit it all together. And I mean edit just to make sure I get it up to YouTube standards and things, not that I cut anything or add anything to it. It's the same as what you're hearing on Spotify and everything. But it'll go up on YouTube within a few days. If you're not subscribed to my YouTube, what are you doing with your life? Spider does things on YouTube. Subscribe, watch some videos, like some content. I do nightly game streams on Twitch, and they all end up on YouTube. Twitch is really just my funnel to move my games over to YouTube because it's just easiest to broadcast that way. I'm still working through the Final Fantasy franchise, the retro franchise. I've done 1 through 4, and I've gotten progressively disappointed with every game after the first one. I'm hoping 5, which I'm going to start in another day or so here, is going to be worth playing. I don't know. It's getting pretty tight here. But I got 5 and 6, and then on to the 7, which is basically a masterpiece. 7 I really am going to enjoy. It's going to be a little tedious because I've done it so many times, but I'm going to make the best out of it. And then we'll see from there. It's also going to be Thanksgiving in another couple weeks. I will not have, for sure, this is the last episode before Thanksgiving. And probably the last episode of the year, unless I do a Christmas episode. Christmas Day. Or, I don't know, not Christmas Day, but like sometime around Christmas when I have the house to myself. I don't know. I'll probably do a game stream marathon around the Christmas season. Because that's simpler for me. And there's more going on, so. But yeah, this will be the last episode of this show, probably for this year, for 2024. So I appreciate your listening. I appreciate you tuning in. And I will be back in 2025 with more. See you then.